introductory section, and then we'll go into more deep dive section, and then we will end it out on a conclusion thing. So, before getting started, let's introduce each other, like what you guys are doing and exactly your background and how you guys came into this role. So maybe we can start with Pratik. Like, you can tell me about your background and, how did you came into this whole, product and growth role? And is it something special that has a story behind it that you inclined to this role? So Pratik, your experience.
Sure. Okay, so I've been associated with CreditVidya for 8 years now. I'm one of the founding members of the company. We started off as a SaaS business. Uh, the SaaS business primarily building uh, credit scores using alternative data for banks and financial institutions. Over a period of time, this kind of we realized the power of what the product is, and then eventually we realized, why not just apply it for our own business, and that's where the entire lending business started off. So my initial role when I started off was a product manager building these SaaS products, and I was then put to task to also sell them. What happened is in the intermediate, while this shift in role happened, I started getting more inclined towards selling and marketing and growth and all of those elements, and that kind of made me get far more inclined towards a slightly more intermediate role of growth and product. Um, Finally, when the lending business started off, it was decided that I would kind of take up the product growth role. Very, very coincidental. The inclination came on the job because I'd never experienced marketing, never experienced growth. Uh, and that's how kind of I went about, getting into the product growth role.
Great. Awesome. Thanks. Sayantan, what's your story and your intro background something?
Yeah. So I joined Pratilipi, I think, around 1.5 years back. Before that, I was working at Growistho. It's a Mumbai-based marketing firm. I joined right after my college, and the role was not exactly marketing, but it's most like a project manager kind of a thing. That of where I'm helping probably D2C brand CEOs to do how to do marketing and how to get help probably scale their revenue on that. I worked there for around 21 months. I worked with a couple of really good companies to scale their revenue from a couple of millions to probably 20, 30 million on that range. And then I kind of got bored I got bored out of it eventually working to this nature. Then I came back in Bangalore, I joined Pratilipi, and it was a very open space in terms of explore for me. So I joined as a marketing guy. I started performance marketing by myself. Pratilipi was doing that time fairly good, around 6 million users, monthly active users on the platform. And I was the only marketing person out there, figuring everything on my own. And slowly we scaled in terms of both, in terms of as business, as the user base, and as well as team as well. So right now we're at 30 million user base with like 5 portfolio products. And the team also is growing. That's kind of my story into growth marketing.
Great. Awesome. Anuj, what's your story?
Hey guys, hi everyone. Thanks all the participants for being here and all the people who are watching it live. Thank you so much, Pratik and Sayantan, for joining this panel along with me. So currently I'm heading performance marketing for EarlySalary, and I've been in this role from last 2.5 years. What EarlySalary does is that it provides unsecured loans to salary professionals in the country. And it has more product lines coming in place. And recently we have launched a salary card. And along with that, we are aggressively trying to participate in buy now, pay later program and also checkout finance. Prior to this, I was working with Furlenco as head of digital. Furlenco is in a space of providing furniture rental, across different parts of the country. And prior to this, I was working with Langu Digital as an agency, where I was handling clients like Capital Float, Big Bazaar, Pantaloons. There were a lot of mix of B2B and B2C clients, not only for Indian markets. I was looking at Australia and Dubai also. And I have been in this space from almost 12 years. I think from 2009, I'm pre-Amazon and Flipkart era. Where still, I think internet was somewhere more or less trying to bring people to do ticket booking. And, that was the wave one where a lot of platforms, where travel was the first sector who was trying to get a normal person to start using internet, from a commerce perspective. times where I worked on ClearTrip and helped them to get on mobile, to now looking at different verticals and trying to attach myself to different verticals in the business industry, and then try to see how growth can shape up for them.
Great, great. Thank you, Anuj. So now, this is a pretty much about introduction. Now, before getting into like proper questionnaires and discussion with growth and like marketing thing, so let's set the context about what your guys on a bird's eye view, like on an overview, like what's your growth strategy looks like, and what are the few things you're focusing. On a very superficial level, you can share in like 3 to 5 minutes around, like Pratik, like how does growth looks like at CreditVidya and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the lending business.
Mm-hmm.
We are into unsecured personal loans and also buy now pay later products as
Mm-hmm.
well. For us, growth kind of comes in two ways. One, we partner with a lot of large distribution players. So the likes of Xiaomi, the likes of Google, and all of those folks who kind of have big distribution or big set of customers. We partner with them and we embed our solutions out there. We enable them with fintech solutions, and that's where we kind of acquire customers from. Along with that, we also have an offline sales mechanism to acquire customers as well, wherein we kind of put a feet on street to go and acquire the customers. That's on the personal loan side. On the BNPL side, it's again a mix of both. It's hybrid, online and offline. We partner with large distribution players, and at the same time, offline, we kind of put our feet on street and go after the large distributors. It's fairly simple, not as complicated as everyone else, because lending products are not that complicated. The acquisition channels that we have are two today. But our growth strategy has always been to partner with really large players who have got a huge customer base and who are looking to monetize that customer base.
Great. Sayantan, how does the growth look like at your end?
Before I talk about growth, I'll talk about Pratilipi in general. What we do
Yes.
as a
Mm-hmm.
Pratilipi is India's largest retailing platform. The literature product is very simple in terms of in India languages. If you want to read something, you can come on Pratilipi and read it. If you want to write something for like a huge number of audience, you just go and write it. It's that simple. We have 4 more products. One is Pratilipi FM, which is on the audio vertical. It's the same in terms of on Indian languages. If you want to listen to anything, you can just go ahead and do it. Same for Pratilipi Comics. We are reinventing Indian comics in multiple languages right now. And fourth one is Ibm Podcast. So Ibm is India's best podcast company till now, and we are growing at pretty good space where we bring really good hosts and create quality content. Some of them are Paisa Vaisa or Advertising is Dead. Probably you guys have heard of it. And fifth one is The Right Order. It's a book publishing business. Now, if we think about Enter as a company, generally, if you think there are two sides, one is supply and demand. On supply side is mostly the readers or the listeners who are consuming your content, and on the on the demand side, there are readers and listeners who are consuming your content. On supply side, there are writers or probably folks who are adding content in terms of audio or comics or other verticals. Right? So generally, we try to think in a very simple perspective. We have to grow both in terms of to create kind of an economy where there's a lot of content to read or consume. Apparently you have a lot of audience to probably share your content or probably get feedback from them. So that's all about it. Only 2 matrices, supply and demand, and then how we can grow it from a growth perspective.
Great, awesome. Anuj?
Hey, thanks, Mala. So yeah, I mean, again, EarlySalary being in the lending space, and a lot of overlap between how Pratik looks at growth and what larger extent we look at growth like. So I would like to speak about growth in general, not specific to EarlySalary. I've been part of, I can narrow it down to how finance shapes up, when we look at growth. So when you look at growth and mostly, a growth marketer, any brand when looks at a growth marketer as a role, they're trying to accelerate, a car which is moving at a certain mileage, and there's a confidence shown by investors. There's a confidence shown by market, before the investors, which is the first adoption users, which are the first layer of people who adopt that particular business. There's a confidence which comes in, and they now want to rise, and they want to accelerate, and they want to multiply that. So whenever you look at growth, I think one of the basic foundation layers which you try to formulate is understanding of your first adopters. spending some time in understanding that what are these first adopters and what is it that is striking a chord with them. And then trying to look at that, what are the different ecosystems, which is commerce-led or engagement-led, which they engage in. So for example, a first adopter, for a Furlenco could be someone who is coming new to a city and who's trying to be in that city for a job, and he's trying to, working on a first job, he's getting a basic salary. His salary is not high, so he's looking to settle and be comfortable. And because it's his first job, he also wants some comfort, and he wants a kind of a lifestyle which is similar to what he has been used to when he was with his family back at home. So he wants that thing to happen. When you look at that first adopter, which is a college guy, you try to see that, okay, there has been a certain layer of, people which have engaged with our business, but now we have to grow 10x, 20x, 30x, 40x. And if you stick to the core product line and not think about adding more product lines, and then you're looking at growth. Let's say you look at one product line, you try to go more deeper into understanding of the behavior of these first adopters and what is it that you can build in a digital framework for these first adopters. So what I mean by that is that what is the kind of colleges they come from. I mean, I'm talking in example of Furlenco, where the first adopter is a college person. Like, what is the kind of colleges they are coming from, or what is the kind of cities they are flocking into, what is their immediate business need, that they need a gas connection, they need a TV connection, they need a mobile connection. You try to ask yourself that what are the different commerce areas they will try to, engage with. And then you try to formulate, I think what Pratik spoke about is partnerships and deeper partnerships, because these partners, like a mobile operator, has a huge chunk of data with them, and you can figure out how to see that how synergies could happen in growth in those lines. Or for that example, rental space, like these people look for rented houses. So then you look at synergies with Nestaway or any portal which is providing renting house. So whenever you try to look at growth, try to see your first adopters, first adapters of that business, and then try to see that what is that ecosystem they are, and that is your core product line growth, which you can at least think of a 30x, 40x. And that's how you look at growth. At EarlySalary, something similar we do. We look at salary professional. We look at that what is his early salary days, and he's in his second job or first job. And what is the ecosystem which is surrounding him? How is he living? And what is he doing? And why does he need money? And what is the engagement he's doing? And try to build the entire strategy of growth around that.
Got it. Great. Thanks. So like those who guys are watching us on might be on social media or also joined us on Zoom, you guys can ask questions or you can also raise your hand. I'll guide you, on board also. You can mention your questions in the chat section as well. Now, moving forward to, particular questions like I just want to make sure we set the context of what are your numbers in terms of maybe you can share like currently we stand at so and so users or so and so downloads, kind of figures what you are seeing right now and what's your upcoming roadmap looks like next 6 months or 1 year, up to you guys. So Pratik, like where do you guys stand currently and where do you see like what's your roadmap kind of thing?
So from the B2B business, so lending for us is a fairly new business, and I've been part of the B2B business. It's been on for like almost 8 years now. We have acquired over 65 million users as of today, which means that we have generated credit scores for 65 million users. Our current roadmap is, the thought process is to now kind of expand it overseas as well, because we have realized that the business is scalable and is agnostic to geography. Also, we have seen a lot of demand coming from various other countries as well. With respect to our B2C business, it's still in a very nascent stage, which is our lending business. So like what Anuj said, right, understanding the profile of the customers and then figuring out the growth strategy. I don't think we have reached that stage yet. We do get a lot of leads, but the numbers that truly let us know or truly give us a clear understanding of what type of adopters we have, we still haven't reached that stage. So I would probably would stay away from giving those numbers out. But yeah, our B2B business is fairly large.
Great, awesome. So we also have a couple of questions. We'll come back to them later on. Sayantan, like what does the current numbers look like at your growth end, and what's your upcoming roadmap for next like few 6 months over there?
So we have approximately 30 million monthly active users on our platform for the literature product. This is for literally everyone. So we're looking forward to reach at least 100 million in the next couple of quarters, or probably more than like probably 2 years max. To kind of take it from a literature like a nation stage product to at least a mass product where it's just adopted through different stages or the different layers in India. That's what
Great.
comics, the audio, and other products. These are still go back. So people are still figuring out that how can we make the greatest product of that. So it's not about the numbers in the first initial phases. It's probably the how can you probably make a great comics product that everyone will love. So once we figure out that stage, once we clear that stage, slowly we will try to take the same level that anyone can wants to read comics in India in any different languages, they should have that kind of access towards that.
Great. Thanks, Anuj. Like, what does the figures look like at your end?
So for us, I mean, it's all about the kind of size of loans which we are giving and what's the book size. So what we chase from an overall company perspective is that what's our book size, and right now it's somewhere around 500 crores, and what we are trending to go is towards around 1,200 crores, and that's our book. And we do also, lend on partner books. But what we are looking on our books is a size of almost 1,200 crores by end of this month, by end of this year. Sorry.
Great. Awesome. So we'll take a quick question from Apru. I've allowed you to speak. Maybe you can ask your question, and then we can move on to the forward. Apru, you are with us?
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. So,
Hi. Thanks, Vichai, for organizing this short session. So my question was, what should be a roadmap of growth strategy for SaaS B2B? It's in the food and beverage domain, and so we have a considerable amount of downloads in that industry. So I would suggesting that I was asking, what is the bullet point roadmap that we should follow as a growth map for the product? Thanks a lot.
maybe Apru, you can also briefly describe about your company or startup, like just in one line or two line.
So I'm in the growth team of Shukal. So that's a customer analytics platform. Uh, so basically that advice. So that is collaboration between restaurants and various customers. So it is basically for the restaurants. So they have a very wide amount of analytics about their customers, who are their customers, and so it's a restaurant management platform as well. So
Okay.
it's a kind of POSIS technology. If you have, that is our competitor. So POSIS
Mhm.
technologies, if you
Okay.
have heard of it.
Okay. Great. So anyone guys like would like to take this, or you have some specific request to some person, Apru?
No specific request. Anybody can tell me.
Then it's up to the panel now.
Yeah.
Sayantan, would you like to pick up this?
Sure. Generally, how I see it for any kind of product is a very hard call to say what the growth strategy look like. But what we can do generally for a specific product, we can decide that, okay, there are multiple opportunities we can get or possible channels can have. It can be literally anything. For B2B sales, it can be performance marketing, it can be through direct calls, it can be through a database, through probably email marketing. Just figure out probably what are the possible options for you right now to go 0 to 1, and then just put similar kind of efforts in every single thing and distribute and see that how the reaction is generally. No one knows what is going to work out. Only you have to figure out that what's working for you, and once you figure out that, okay, probably performance marketing is working for me, and then just go double down on it.
Great. Anuj and Pratik, would you guys want to pitch in something?
Yeah, I think what Sayantan said make a lot of sense. That there's no formula as such. You have to work on creating a formula, and that's what you spend time. You have a mix of channels, and I think look at your customer base, these people who are restaurant owners, and what are the key challenges which they're facing. And I think it's easy to get the database in today's time. Most of these would be easily accessible through the Zomato and Swiggy's of the world. So it's easy for you to strike a kind of an understanding with these other players in the market, which are also part of their e-commerce system or the commerce system rather, and try to see that what all experiments that Satyan said you can do, and each of these experiments or more of these experiments help you in creating hypotheses about your behavior and what they are behaving. And then based on that, you can build your entire strategy.
Great, awesome. So before taking other questions, we'll just quickly, go through like what kind of, like earlier, like, me and Anuj were discussing on, funnel optimization, specifically what you guys are doing at your end. So maybe you can, quickly, go through your what kind of funnel looks like, at what stages, what you guys are doing, and few things about optimizing and what key learnings you had, when you were following the process and you got some insight. So maybe you can share, maybe also somewhat in depth also about your funnel, like at your end, and what does it look like, Anuj?
Yeah, sure. So, it becomes very important. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Is the
Yes,
voice
slide down.
clear?
Yes,
Because,
yes.
okay, okay, cool. So what's important, I think, yeah, in a lending funnel, there are a lot of steps. When we give out instant cash to someone who comes on the platform, and the instant cash is dispersed in his account in a period of less than 20 minutes if the process goes all fine. So when you're giving a substantial amount of cash in someone's account, you have to make sure that you are taking all the necessary kind of information to do that. And the lending funnel is a tricky one. Even I think there are other finance related funnels which are tricky, but lending specifically requires a user to come inside a funnel, provide his personal information. I mean, we ask almost close to 22 fields which are professional and personal in nature, and then go ahead and provide his bank statement. After that, he has to do the KYC process, and then he has to set his auto repayment, and then finally the money goes. So if you look at the kind of actions which we require from the user are humongous, and it's a lot we are asking. And specifically when someone is new to credit, so a lot of customers in the market today who are not well versed with the entire process. It's not necessary that you had applied for a loan before and you are aware that, okay, these are the documents which are required. So a lot of times we see, and in our funnel, we see closely 30 to 40% people who are not really aware about these are the steps and this is what, we would be required to do. So we see that people don't do all of this in one go. People do a certain journey and then they go back. Then they come back and do a certain steps and then they go back. And when we talk about, our growth strategy, and we see that a lot of partners and aggregators play a role, what happens is that as someone is in a lending funnel, it is not in India, I think, and I think to a larger extent, it's very easy for him to get SMS and messages and emails and calls from other lenders. The way it's all structured is that it's very easy to figure out that he's looking for money. And what happens is that at that time, you have to make sure as a brand that how you're able to convince him to stay with you, to complete the steps, and to take your product. And that becomes really a challenge in a lending funnel. Now, the way we try to address it, the way we try to approach it, is that we have obviously use of marketing automation tools like MoEngage, where we try to use smart notifications, emailers, SMS. I mean, these are the channels which we use to communicate. And that's a standard thing, and that's not where the key effort goes. The key effort goes in understanding that why someone has dropped from that particular step, and creating again, a fundamental ideology in any kind of marketing and in growth also is that you try to create different hypotheses. That, for example, one step where we see a lot of people dropping out is the bank statement upload stage. And now one thing which is a straight off thing is that people don't have that bank statement ready, and we have an option that they can connect with their bank online or they can upload a document offline. So one is that they don't remember their password and username, and that's why they don't want to do that step right away. There could be another reason why people don't upload is that they don't have confidence on the platform. They just downloaded an app, they saw an ad, and now you're asking for a bank statement. I mean, at least they don't feel that it's a secure place. So confidence is an area of problem. The third could be that they are simply lazy and they don't see the value. They're not able to see that I submitted my personal profile. We asked for their personal profile and professional profile. Now he's asking for bank statements. I just feel that I'm just giving and there's nothing which I'm getting in return. So a psychological feeling that why am I doing it? Will I get rejected after doing all of this? So what will happen to me? Now, when you try to break it down, all of these, you try to create your communication addressing these different areas, and you try to see that what is it that is striking a chord with the customer. And for that particular segment, you try to have that as your understanding and strategy. So what we use is tools which help us in showing multiple variations, showing different emails, different content, trying to where the customer is responding. Again, trying to A/B test that if a customer is shown a screen which has no certificates mentioned on it, versus a screen which has a couple of confidence building content on it, then what is the impact? What is the delta shift? So a combination of a lot of experiments at every stage of the funnel, using communication, doing it in real time. Because it's a lending funnel. In lending funnel, you cannot give that weight that organically he will do something. Yes, there are a lot of customers who organically flow, but still you cannot give much room to a consumer or a customer in a lending funnel.
Great. Great, got it. Awesome. Thank you so much for elaborating it, so much deep. Sayantan, maybe you can also touch upon your what kind of funnel looks like at your end and how you guys are optimizing it. Sayantan.
Got it. Okay, so we have made it fairly easy for us. So the major two goals are when we are doing any kind of marketing. The marketing should probably focus on the staging the values of the product or what we are as a company or what you can see in the product. If we can probably make sure that the marketing experience and the product experience is really good, the customers will just stick in the product. Okay? Now, on that concept, we have divided in the entire funnel into multiple categories. As an example, let's think about that if we're running a performance marketing ad. So from ad, the visual process to landing page view, towards Play Store and then Play Store to my onboarding funnel and then onboarding to using the product. So we divided that into multiple categories and try to see that what's working, what's not working for every single market funnel we do. And then it's a real-time optimization, as Anuj mentioned earlier, that we try to kind of see that what's the behavior in each kind of funnel and then kind of take steps how to optimize it on that. So if I have to give you a one-liner answer, it's most like that how we can bring the best product experience through marketing without showing any gimmick or without showing any, let's say, catchy phrase. Just try to give the real experience. And if we can do it, then probably doing our job fairly well. And the customer will love our product experience. And if they love, they will probably stick with us for a long time.
Got it. Thanks, Sayantan. Pratik, at CreditVidya, you guys are focusing like more on B2B side, like that's growing right now. How that's different from these guys, like they're focusing more on consumer and like how does funnel at your end looks like and what you guys are doing for optimizing it. Maybe you can share out what you guys are doing at your end.
B2B business is enterprise sales. The funnel out here is fairly long. We typically look at like a 6 to 9 months funnel, right? Because we are actually talking about deal sizes which are up north of 50 lakh to 1 crore rupees, which means it take that much amount of time to sell something. We don't have any specific funnels in place, but our acquisition strategy is more around using relationship. Relationship and network is what we kind of leverage. Unlike D2C businesses, B2B enterprise behaves very, very differently. But where we spend a lot of time, and I think I can kind of deep dive into that, is we spend a lot of time building a great narrative, building a great story on how our products can actually help them increase their revenues or cut down their costs, which means we do a lot of proof of concepts with our partners to actually demonstrate that it can actually help them cut down costs or it can actually help them generate revenue for their business. Those proof of concepts typically, go out to be free. We kind of run it for a couple of months, test it out, compare it against their own business, show them the amount of business that they're able to generate because of it, and then eventually convert that into a sale. So out here, we unless and until the product is actually not tested out and is not used. Enterprise products typically take a lot of time to complete a sale, which also includes demonstrations that require a bit of system to system integration as well. It can go to that level as well. But yes, unless and until proof of concepts in performance marketing, proof of concepts are about content, right? In our case, content only gives us access to the gate or access to having to pitch to the customer for the first time. But doing the POC actually demonstrates the worthiness of the brand. That's what B2B is all about. B2B enterprise is all about.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So maybe I think Pratik also has a lot of specific questions to you guys. Maybe Pratik, you can ask that specific one and lead the conversation ahead.
Oh, sure. Sayantan, I'll actually ask you a couple of questions, follow it up with Anuj. And then, there are some common marketing questions, growth marketing questions as well. Pratilipi has multiple fold growth in the last 2 years. I had kind of recently read an article published in 2020 that you had a 10 million MAU, and right now you're sitting at around 30 million MAU, right? What were those various acquisition tactics that you had applied to achieve this massive growth? If you could, elaborate a bit on that.
Sure. So at Pratilipi, we try to do things in a bit scientific way, majorly because we are targeting the entire India as our target audience, right? It can be really anyone, like probably someone is 18 years old to someone is 90 years old, right? What I try to say that, okay, if I have, let's say, probably 10 to 20 multiple possible channels for us, why they are possible channels, and just quickly have hypothesis that why they can work for us in terms of numbers or in terms of hypothesis as well. And then we just put either a small amount of money or bandwidth just to test it out, how it's working. Once we figure out something in terms of patterns, we just take it on very, very high scale. So generally we try to not win in terms of small things. Let's say if we are probably running a campaign, and if I get 10,000 users, that will not excite us at any level. If we can figure out that, okay, this particular strategy can give us 10 million users, so we'll just go after it on a very, very large volume or large bandwidth level. So that's been all for us. 2019 end, we were at 6 to 7 million MU. And then kind of we took the same strategy on entire marketing level. It can be performance marketing, it's influencer marketing and all, where we are just trying to churn at least like 100, 150 experiments every single week. Just try to see each and every funnel, what's working, what's not working, how they are behaving in terms of with respect to the product, and how we can probably bring the cost down and everything on that note. And if we see something is working, something is probably behaving a good way for us, we just go at a very, very aggressive rate. That's what works for us earlier for literature product. That is working for all the products we have right now. And that's the core strategy we will be doing for the next couple of years. It's just like do as fast as possible, just focus on execution. If even like out of 100 experiments, 95 are failing, not a problem. You will get 5, and out of 5, probably 1 will give you multiple ROIs in the long run. That's all about it.
Can you elaborate on a couple of experiments that you guys were, doing at Pratilipi?
Okay, one of them is probably I can give you an example of Facebook ads. So think about Pratilipi is a product with a lot of good stories, and we want people to come to our product to read or engage with those stories in general, right? So we kind of figured out that, okay, if we have to bring people on our platform, we can't just go ahead and tell them, okay, we have 10, 20 million stories or we have writers. Can we give a bit of experience to them that, hey, you will get this kind of probably experience on product, whatever we are seeing in marketing. So what we have done it, we have kind of built an in-house system where we are kind of churning or getting a number of stories that have worked really well in Pratilipi and kind of showing them on our ads as a snippet format. Let's think about a good story that worked really well is Tashri and Pratilipi. We kind of take 1 or 2 paragraph with a probably cliffhanger approach, and then we tell audience, hey, if you want to read more, or if you want to read this kind of stories, or probably if you want to read this kind of experience, just come to Pratilipi. And that worked for us really well. And then we move towards a strategy where we are literally showing the content we have right now and what exactly audience will get when they will open the app.
That's actually very interesting. The cliffhanger approach is very interesting. I don't think a lot of platforms actually get an opportunity to have a cliffhanger in place. Most of the platforms typically show you the benefits of what the product would have, and not a strategy that you guys have had. Okay,
But
I
just
have yeah.
strategy. Okay, so we just didn't pick the strategy at one point of time. It came from one of those 1,000 experiments we had earlier.
Okay.
To get this one, we had to cancel like 99% of experiments. So it's just one pattern we got that's working.
Does this experiment kind of work the most for you guys, or do you have any other similar experiments that kind of work out for you as well?
Okay, this is one of the hypotheses that is working for us. There are probably 20 more hypotheses like this that we're working on scale. Now, there's a particular lifetime journey for this hypothesis. Let's think about Facebook India has 50 million users. Now, at some point in time, you will probably exhaust the audience when we'll have, let's say, 100 million users on a platform. Now, what do we do then? So to prepare for that time, or probably to prepare for that stage, we keep experimenting on multiple products, multiple things, that what's actually can work, or what can actually work with us. And probably have literally experimented with 99% products available in the market. Not from a winning perspective, we just want to see that if we run ads on Hotstar, if we run ads on probably any sort of video platform, what is the behavior? Why the numbers are great or why the numbers are not great, and kind of try to learn on those levels. And once we learn 1,000 things, we'll try to figure out that, okay, probably a couple of patterns can give us multiple returns. And if so, how can we take this into scale?
On the same note, Anuj, consumer digital lending is hot cake. We both are in the same, very similar space, right? What are the top 3 things you did to make EarlySalary the platform of choice?
I think I think the larger work was done by the business and the product team to make it a choice of preference, because see, today's consumer is not loyal to any brand, no matter how much money the brand is spending in marketing. And you can have the biggest of the celebrities with you, but still a customer is loyal to the value which you create for him at a product level. That's the most important thing when decision making is done by a consumer. So brand loyalty is fading, and that's the truth. That's why you see D2C as direct to consumer brands coming up within a span of, let's say, 8 to 10 months, and you see 100 crore, 150 crore brands like Mama Earth or Wow just coming in the space and disrupting the entire market, which used to be perceived in a certain way. So to Pratik, to answer your question, I think what we focus on is that, first of all, giving a lot of understanding back to the product team, using marketing not only for obviously sending our message across, but using that platform really, because it's a two-way communication, to really use the other side of communication, which is coming back to us, to really listen and feed back to the product, and to be the fastest to adapt, to have a environment in the company which is adaptability and change. Based on, as you said, the fundamentals remain same. What Sayantan mentioned about experiments, trying out different things. But apart from platforms and advertising, because it doesn't take much time, I think in the span of 6 months, I would have tried all the possible platforms available in the country. It's not a big thing to try these platforms. But then what is really important is that to understand that when you are trying to see that a consumer is coming inside the funnel, what is really happening and what is the causes when he's not, moving ahead. Because he's looking for money. In lending, it's very simple. He won't remember, oh my God, it's EarlySalary. Oh, this is an amazing feeling brand. So I want to take money from here. This will give me some aspirational value, or I will boost about it to my friends. It doesn't happen like that. No one talks about, lending in that way. So that's why specifically in lending case, it's more about listening to your consumer in real time and trying to create, trying to create a product in a way that it can offer its solution on the go. So giving the power to the system in that way. For example, when a consumer is looking for a certain amount of money, and when you're underwriting him and when you're sanctioning an amount, that this is the kind of loan amount I can give you, you should be able to understand that it's not just that you just sanction and say that, hey, this is the amount of money. You should be able to create a product in such a way that you're able to get a feedback from a consumer that Are you happy? Are you looking for some more? Or is this something where you like to have different options played in? You might not have that ready in your backend, but you have to use marketing as a layer. As in, you can still engage him in communication. That okay, I need this, and you can say that, oh wow, this is amazing. And can you use that value to real-time feedback to your business team and say that what can we give, and can you populate back that in the system? So all of this is in real time trying to produce a product which a consumer wants, rather than because it's lending. It's not like I have like a tangible product that I cannot get. So either you take it or you don't take it. It's like, can I in real time change a lot of principles, and that is basically working at the back end and really trying to see that there will be something I can offer him. There is something which I can tell him that, okay, I can offer you a different product at maybe this rate, or I can offer you this product by maybe not on my book, but on someone else's book. But being so powerful to do that in real time. So that is what, is the key to growth. Apart from this, I think, Pratik, couple of things which are very simple is going into tier two vernacular, trying to understand that voice will become a big thing. I mean, these are standard things with teams. I mean, vernacular and tier two, obviously, a lot of brands know the value of it. From if it's a content creating brand, obviously they know it. But the value which a voice command can do, and how voice can be used to fill a lending funnel, like how voice can be used from a consumer perspective to do things which is telling his profile, and not using text. So those are the things which are on a product side, which substantially optimizes your funnel, which gives you X dollars to go and spend, on top of the funnel. So it's always trying to be so smart that you can have dollars saved, which you can go back and feed back in the system. Where your customer acquisition cost is still same, you're increasing your top of the funnel so that you're increasing the entire system. So that is how it's like a calculated growth trajectory you're taking.
Understood. Okay. I'll move on to Sayantan. Sayantan, when you guys are moving into, let's say, a new territory altogether, right? Let's say in the form of launching a new product, or let's say launching into a new geography or expanding into a new geography. There could be either moments where you would see coincidence, or I would say you would see customers or cohorts that would come in which you would have not anticipated. So as part of growth, right, what are the strategies that you would apply to take that as an input and grow on that base? Or would you, so the question is slightly more, would you actually concentrate on that job or on that cohort which would come in coincidentally, or would you continue to run your own experiments and see if you can kind of pull other cohorts as well?
Got it. It's kind of both actually. When you're moving to a new field or probably new product line, we have to think from a both like product and marketing perspective. So as a growth person, when I'm thinking, okay, how can we probably bring Ibm Podcast to a 20 million listen category, right? Then we have to think from perspective, okay, how can we do this from marketing perspective, all the experiments, and then if I'm bringing the user to the platform, what is the behavior? And it comes with a very detailed strategy that what people are doing on your platform, what is the feedback, and how you can probably take a feedback loop towards both product and marketing to see that how it works. As a good example, when we started Pratilipi Comics around 2020 Feb, almost a year and a half back, we kind of built a product and onboarded almost all the good comics that you guys know, probably Billu, Chaudhary, Pinky, and all. Now, what we have done from there is we kind of trying to see that, okay, if I'm bringing 10,000 people on a platform, what is the behavior, what kind of, let's say, opinions they have in terms of those comics and what exactly they want. And it's kind of approach is most from a both product and marketing perspective, that you try to see that what exactly they're looking for. If you see, okay, I have the scope of improvement from product perspective, you focus on supply part, you focus on the product part. And if you see, okay, I'm not probably able to communicate the entire product, probably culture, probably the value towards my user, then you come back to zero and starts from scratch, that how we can probably think from a, let's say, user's perspective, and why should they come to this platform? If you have any specific question, probably I can take it from here, or if this is all you were asking.
No, so this is all I was asking, right? I basically wanted to see what would you do when you're either launching a new product, or when you're kind of moving, or you kind of moving into a new geography. What are the steps that you take?
Yeah. So Fairly simple on this note. So we haven't actually moved towards a new geography till now.
Hmm.
All the product line that is completely on India based. And when we worked on a literature product, we actually focused a lot initially to make our one product look like the greatest product we will ever make eventually.
So let me deep dive into that. Right? So let's say there is a language that you're not actually catering to, or maybe you're not supporting today, and you would see a lot of interest coming for that specific language, but your platform today does not support it. So, and you would see it's a coincidence, right? I mean, people speak multiple languages, but the preferred language of choice is, let's say, something which is not something that you're supporting today. Um, as a growth marketer, would you concentrate on that today, or would you say, hey, you know what, let's just continue growing our current user base because that's what a product supports? Or would you say, hey, you know what, let's kind of also look at this user base that has come in, who is looking out for something which we don't support, but probably we might see a completely new population coming in.
Got it. Okay, so there are two, three major things we consider. Probably a good example will be we just launched Punjabi and Odia for literature product a year and a half back, and we're expanding to multiple languages for both IVM podcast and Pratilipi comics and Pratilipi FM as well. Generally, when we're looking toward new territory in terms of language, we have to see that okay, what's the specific query or probably what's the level of curiosity out there. If we pick a new language, we have to see the volume first. And second question is that if the demand is there and we can see it from our lots of, let's say, either Pratilipi queries or probably the feedback, can we actually do it right now with the people we have or with the resources we have? If we are unsure in any of those two things, we take a back step and probably think or probably push it later. When we are very sure that we are taking a new language, we have to be the best to give the experience, right? We don't want to just increase the numbers. If we pick up, let's say, next 4 or 5 languages for other products or probably publicities as well, we will think the same, that how can we probably bring a seed content for all those languages, and probably how can we scale it up. If we have the answer that we are confident, we'll just do it. Otherwise, we'll just prepare ourselves that how can we do it.
Um, I'll move on to Anuj. Anuj, tell us a bit about how you guys moved from a lending product to a salary card. Right? You kind of introduced a salary card for your customers as well. So what was the thought behind that? What is the feed that you got from your customers that prompted you to open up this new business line?
So, see, it's first of all, it's not moving from one thing to another. It's basically
It's an extension.
It's trying to service a customer holistically and trying to look at his ecosystem or his lifestyle in a holistic way. So when we do that, when we try to see that, okay, today a customer comes on our app and he takes a loan, but he also goes on other apps and he in his day-to-day life also is using transaction, as a card. And he's engaging in a couple of other financial things. He's also engaging in e-commerce and he's buying products there. See, finance is the backbone. What finance is, that finance is an answer to everything in life because you need it, and that's how you gonna, it's a power for you to do and to exist, and to engage in all that, what we talk about. Let's say it's any company which we have participants from, or it's the panelists from. At the end of the day, money is what it will power. So what we try to do, Pratik, is that why we saw salary card as an opportunity is a behavior formation. Because in lending, what is loyalty? Loyalty is nothing but ease of use. Today we see that Google Pay and Paytm is similar, and they're just trying to millions of dollars in making sure that people open their app again and again and again. And why they want to do that? Because they know that tomorrow, if people are opening it again and again, or that if Facebook knows that my platform is opened, again and again in a day, and there's X amount of hours spent. What you are trying to create is you're not selling any product. What you're trying to create is human time. What you're trying to create is how much time your application can engage a user, and if that is a metric, and if that you increase business. Now, what is that business? No one knows. But what actually happens is that you create a lot of power in your brand to become something which can be valuable. So that is the real brand value which you create in terms of how much engagement from a human you can get in a day. So that's what we try to see, and that's why salary card. It's like, again, you will use it for transactions. The brand will be in front of you. You cannot miss it, and you have to. It's a digital card, so you have to come on the mobile app. If you have to come on it, and if you have to use it, it's a habit formation.
Okay. I'll follow up that question to Sayantan now. So legendary business, Peter Drucker had said that the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. So Sayantan, once customers kind of get onboarded on the platform, let's say, what are those engagement tactics that you guys have applied on your platform to keep the customer continuously engaged? Just to add to what Anuj said, right? So in case of keeping a customer engaged, the salary card was introduced because it formed behavior of loyalty. In your case, what was the thing that you guys had adopted? Sayantan, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. For a consumer internet product, it's fairly simple actually. We kind of try to think in from both from different perspective, from marketing and different from product. Generally, the hypothesis, okay, if someone is on my app right now, what he is doing? Is he reading the books? If yes, what he is reading? If no, why he is not reading? And then there are two, three major things come up. One is basically the access. Do they have the access to everything that they want? If not, how can we give it to them? Second one is basically how can we engage them in multiple ways that probably can bring them on the platform. So there are multiple things we use as, let's say, push notifications, or probably in-app content push on multiple layers. We use remarketing to kind of bring them back on our platform again, probably engage them into multiple things. But mostly 90% of this is product play from here. We focus a lot about recommendation system as well. That think about, you just opened YouTube and probably saw one video from a marketing perspective. And then if I have to probably hook you or probably just bring you back again or probably make you a probably long-term user, I have to focus from a very product perspective. How can I show you the best recommended videos? How can I probably give you the experience of what you want on those levels? So on product, we kind of divide it into categories. One is the data science part, and second one is the pure product part. On data science, we generally, again, on the similar manner, we churn a lot of experiments and try to see that what is the behavior and kind of try to get their data to understand how or what they're doing and how can I show them best recommendation. On the product part, so there are two ways again. One is the new feature kind of a thing, where you try to see that what's not there in the platform and what people will love. So if you look at the Pratilipi product, we have introduced multiple things as idea box for writers, where they will get daily inspiration to write something. We have launched multiple categories as kind of combined or selected categories, where if you just select romance, you can just probably read the best stories in romance and all, right? On the existing product font, we try to see, okay, if someone is just reading a particular series content, or probably just listening to or watching or probably looking at comics, why they are not probably jumping from part 2 to part 3? What's the problem out there? And it's just every single funnel analysis. And if we can find out a pattern, we try to fix it. Otherwise, we take a lot of user calls, we take a lot of user queries to understand how can I probably hook them better in this way. So from both product and marketing perspective, we try to keep or probably increase our efficiency day by day. And hopefully we expect that, okay, probably in a month or two, we'll be more efficient than we are right now. And the journey will continue.
So what you're saying is two things, right? One is you churn experiments to bring the customer back onto the platform, and new features that would engage the customers with a utility that would kind of help them continue to use the platform. And in case of the salary card that you just spoke about, utilization is going to be, I'm guessing, one of the biggest challenges, right? What is it that you guys had done to increase the utilization of the salary card that you had given to the customers?
For anyone, I mean, I think, first of all, is the voice clear? Because I see someone saying the voice is not coming.
There's a little bit break, but it's clear.
Okay. So for a user to use the card again and again, there are a lot of benefits which a user gets on every transaction. The benefits are funded not only by EarlySalary, but a lot of merchants which we onboard, and for them it's in commerce. So we are trying to build a strong merchant network and also trying to see that what are those few unique merchants which we can tie up and which we can create a value by looking at a lot of customer insights and customer data. So when we work with bureaus and when we try to work with payment gateways. Now, payment gateways are those to understand a lot of understanding of how a customer base is transacting. And when you try to understand that information of what is it that they are transacting and what is it they are using money for, what it gives you is an idea that what are the kind of merchants you really need to do strong partnerships so that they create value, and those values are then offered to a customer so that he's very much excited to do the transaction. That hey, I want to use my card. The second thing is to give him power, of using a card in social gatherings. So to go and tie up with restaurants, to purposely, make him talk about it when he will be sitting with friends, because that's how it's gonna become more evident that I want to use it because I have, for example, Zomato Gold. We used to sit in a restaurant and say who has Zomato, and I have Zomato Gold. There could be chances that few people didn't know what Zomato is, So that's another kind of an age we try to put energy on.
Okay, got it. Is Sayantan there? Or
Yeah, I can hear you.
you can hear us. Okay. So a bit on, I'll kind of further extend into retention, right? Engagement and retention. So when you guys are, creating various strategies for retention and kind of running various experiments, there are certain budgets that are, allocated to run those experiments at the same time. And given that EarlySalary is a startup, Pratilipi is a startup, money is not infinite, unfortunately. So how do you allocate those budgets? So what is the process of allocating budgets to run those experiments? And then if you could kind of elaborate on that, and then Anuj, if you could elaborate on that.
Got it. So Pratilipi is kind of a weird company in that nature. And I'll tell you why. So we do not work kind of a hierarchical team for marketing or probably any team at Pratilipi. Generally, what we do, we kind of bring smart people on board and kind of give enough freedom to them what they want to do in general. Now, let's take an example for performance marketing. For the particular team member wants to experiment 1,000 things. Now, the budget they decide on their own. That what should be the budget look like, or probably how much money they need to experiment. Now, of course, like there's not a range of high lower on that. People try to take calls based on the reality or probably based on the process of doing it. Of course, like someone will not tell me that, okay, I want to just explain something, I'll spend 10 crores. But it can be, if it's like 1 lakh, a couple of lakhs, I don't have a problem with that. So we do not optimize on anything at a very ground level. We can try to say that, okay, if we have to move very, very fast, what are the probably resources we can give to people and how they can operate in a very independent manner. Once we do it, we kind of opening the funnel to them in terms of all they should or they can worry about is the experiment. And at the outcome, probably we win at the end because the speed or probably the nature, the way we do the experiments. But we do keep or we do maintain our overall budget and kind of try to see that, okay, why probably the ratio of experiment versus the scaling things are going up and down. That's a very high level to look at it, but we do not try to micromanage at all at a very ground level.
Is there a set rule? So let's say, for example, you already have your existing marketing strategies working, and then you have a set of experiments. Marketing strategies already are working on a certain budget, and then you have certain experiments that you want to run. Like you said, right? At times there are 100 to 150 experiments that you could potentially be running, and let's say in a specific time frame. So, what kind of ratios do you typically, maintain or manage?
Got it. So the information is available to everyone. If someone will ask me or ask anyone in the team, what should we do that worked earlier, they will get the information. But it's at the end their call if they want to use it or not. For example, let's think about if we create a strategy for ambitious campaigns and we know the budget distribution looks like X, Y, Z. Someone from the team can say that, okay, probably it's not smart enough. I want to try on my own. And they have the opportunity to implement that. So when I joined, kind of, I started working on multiple things that were working already, and multiple things that will look weird from a very top perspective, but that was making sense to me at that point of time, and that is happening with almost everyone in Pratilipi in general.
Anuj, how about you?
So see, every business has a different scale and depending on, the kind of funds they have. But one simple logical way of doing it, for our own is value of success
Anuj,
divided
we
by
are
cost of
losing.
failure into
Anuj,
the
we are losing
confidence
you for a
level
bit.
or the probability of success.
Anuj, maybe you
So
can
let
put
me
your
just
video on
reconnect.
off.
Let me try to see it. Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, maybe now
Okay,
your
is my
audio
voice?
would be
Yeah, is it better?
A bit.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bit, a bit.
Okay. So what I was saying is that for any time when you're trying to try out something, there is a cost attached to it, and there is also a value of success and a cost of failure. These are the two things which you have. And when you're trying to do any experiment, you have a fair bit of an idea that if it is a successful, what is the probable value it will create for me? And then if it's not able to be successful, then there's a cost, of that failure. So value of success divided by cost of failure, and always try to. I mean, most of the scenarios, any smart guy said, smart people try to look at it towards positivity, like more than greater than one, and always they'll try to work in those areas. But also there are certain scenarios where the experience of a professional brings the probability or a confidence level to it. Sometimes the confidence level could be 100 because someone has already tried it in his previous job or he's tried it the same thing and he has a high confidence. So there, that plays a bigger role in moving it towards the north, and you can take more risk or you can have higher budget. But most of the time, in the time of growth and what we are doing, every one of us are in scenarios where there's a lot of things which no one has tried before, and it's all about innovation and it's all about trying new things, and that's the DNA that you are trying to disrupt. If the DNA is about disruption, then I think this normal kind of an approach where trying to see that what is the value you will create if it is successful divided by cost of failure and based on the appetite of a company, what level they can operate. And to a senior management or to a business or for yourself, the convincing becomes more strong when you see that my cost of failure is less, but the value of success seems to be amazing. So that gives you a lot of kick to go ahead and convince anyone that I need this money, I need it for damn sure. Like I'm so sure about it, kind of.
Understood. Um, Sayantan, do you want to share some common growth problems that startups have, or from your experience, right? That common growth problems that you have seen at Pratilipi, which you could share. Some anecdotal examples.
Got it. A fairly good example will be not only at Pratilipi, when I was helping like a lot of companies, probably a couple of months back. This happened with almost everyone at some point of time. Is it when we do or depend on a couple of channels for growth? Let's think about that. Probably I have 5 channels working, and for one channel I'm getting 80% of the entire this output, and the rest of four combined 20%. Now, when we are going on that aggressive channel, when we don't have too much backup, when the channel will start behaving weirdly, either in terms of cost or in terms of the nature, in terms of really anything, your growth strategy will look really, really bad or probably will get a hit on the numbers. That will happen with us, like quite for a couple of times. That happened with multiple people as well. How we figured out that majorly it will not happen again, probably creating multiple backups, that okay, if plan A will not work in a longer time period, how can we reinvent ourselves to probably move towards multiple fundings or multiple channels that we have or probably we can explore. And that's how probably a part of my job is also to figure out in terms of a top funnel perspective, that what are the probably or where Pratilipi will be in terms of growth in the next couple of years down the line. And if we kind of cover all the channels right now, how we can probably bring more and more people, or how we can reach out to more and more people on that.
Anuj, how about you? Any stories that you would like to share? Some common
I
growth
mean,
problems at Furlenco and EarlySalary. I mean, okay.
yeah, the growth problems are always that market has so much ups and downs, seasonality, sentiment. Mr. Modi is always there to make sure that businesses are going through a tough time, and then the pandemic comes in and adds to it. So I think this has been the key thing, that how to have how to have proof, or like proofing your strategy in some way. So I think one of the key things is that not only depending on Google and Facebook. Like a lot of times I see that we get unknowingly or knowingly, we create a lot of dependence on these channels. Within these channels, sometimes the dashboard crashes and they have their own problems. Apart from that, these all, specifically in lending space, Pratik, it's very easy to, get 2, 3 partners and create a strong bonding and partnership, and they do amazing business for you. But what happens is that if the partner goes down, suddenly you feel, oh my God, something has broken. So to always have multiple partners, to always have, you know, uh, like you are not putting all your eggs in one basket, and you're not letting anyone become so big for you that they start governing you. Because at the end of the day, it is very important to have your own organic, to have your own strength. I think one of the most important things is to invest in building the direct connect with the consumer without any advertising in between and trying to figure out how to do that.
I absolutely agree with you.
No marketing still, a way that a consumer will come to you and investing in that.
Anuj, I can totally share the feelings. I resonate with everything that you said. We have been through that as well.
Yeah.
Great,
So
great.
that's Malav, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Like, it was really interesting to listen to a discussion. I personally also had a couple of questions like while we were discussing. Sayantan, like when you said like you are experimenting like 100 to 150s of at the same time on parallel. So one question is like, how do you guys come up with those experiment in terms of like, do you guys have an hypothesis like an idea sort of stuff and you stream it down, or do you take those from your analytics side of things? Okay, this we are observing a pattern and you put it down into your framework, and following up to that, like how do you guys prioritize those experiments, like which to take and when to take, and how do, so what kind of initial process looks like for over to the experiments like completely like that.
Got it. Okay. This comes from most of the or hiring culture actually, the people we want to bring in. So let's think about that. Okay, for multiple different verticals in marketing, we have multiple people working in terms of its ownership culture. So when someone is working in performance marketing, he is the owner. He feels in terms of responsible to figure out multiple things, what's working, what's not working, how can we take things further level, right? So we have multiple owners in marketing or growth department at Pratilipi. Now, when we have, let's say, multiple folks that are really enjoying or probably really wants to go very, very aggressive in terms of numbers, they can kind of look into the data you have and probably beyond that. Sometimes it can be just sitting with product managers and figure out that what's working in product. Probably if we launch a feature, how can we market that, and a number of things. Now, those people try to figure out that, okay, what will be my possible probably experiments in the next couple of days. And we kind of list down in a or jot down everything in a particular, let's say, it can be a sheet or it can be Notion and all eventually. And then we kind of get together and discuss that why and how eventually. That's the prioritization part. So once on from multiple inputs or probably from multiple, let's say, thought process, we derive the experiment structure of what we want to do. And then let's say you have 200 experiments on you right now. You can't do 200, you can do 20 probably. Then you try to pick that why these 20 should make sense right now, given the resource and the budget or probably the bandwidth you have. Now, as an example, let's say if we try to experiment on probably motion graphics and your team member is not available, you can't do it, right? So these are the constraints or the resources you want to look at the end and kind of probably figure out that, okay, this week 20 will go live in terms of the prod, and probably rest I'll put next week, or probably if something is not making sense right now, or there is chance less than 5% of success, so we'll just do it later onwards. But these calls are not taken by me or anyone in the company. These are individual calls. Like I said, people are owners here. They take their own decisions. We are here to help them. That's it.
Got it. Great. Thanks. Anuj, coming to you, like you mentioned, not keeping all the things in one basket, and also you mentioned like having multiple partners. And we also kind of discussed earlier about, having those kind of affiliations that you have, at EarlySalary. So maybe can you like, deep dive into those, what kind of affiliations you are and how you are getting more results from that. So maybe you can share your process and some key insights on that part as well, Anuj.
Yeah, sure. So the way in a lending industry, the way verticals are that one is your direct, reaching out to consumer using your marketing channels, where that ad will be shown to a customer and he will then engage, and you're trying to reach an in-market audience because You're trying to drive performance. So you're trying to, really optimize your marketing towards spend. Now, in this space, one is your Google and Facebook primary channels where you can, feed the channels to reach to a right kind of an audience. Apart from that, in an app environment, you have a lot of publishers, which have specific inventories with them. For example, InMobi is coming with Glance, and Glance is an amazing inventory, in itself, and it's a disruptive kind of a technology. Like this, AppNext has a very specific inventory with a couple of publishers, and it's able to monetize on that. There are a lot of publishers who have gaming inventories, where at the end of the day, when we try to look at data, a lot of our customers engage in a lot of gaming. And when we see that, okay, there are some publishers who have very specific dedicated gaming inventories. So what you try to do is that publishers obviously will have affiliation with Google and Facebook. But at the end of the day, when you're also trying to create a marketing strategy, or you're trying to create a approach of different channels coming in place, you try to see that, okay, I would like to have a direct partnership with certain kind of publishers. Sadly, Facebook and Google never give you an understanding of that what publishers at the end of the day, your ads are shown on. But there are a lot of networks apart from Google and Facebook. Like I talked about direct publishers. There are networks, like Columbia, which again give you a lot of insights about which particular, spot in their entire ecosystem the ads is shown. So the whole idea is to create. So basically, the only difference between Google, Facebook, and the other publishers is that Google and Facebook have invested a huge sum of money in creating advertising platforms to make our advertisers' life easy, a marketer's life easy. What other people are not able to do is that they don't have so much money to spend it. So you have to spend two things. That one is a very robust reporting mechanism for the publisher, which in real time is able to give him a complete understanding of what is happening. From the point a person clicks on an ad, you have to have a right attribution tool in place so that a publisher is able to really see the value he's creating. And you also have to have a dedicated resource which is able to manage a particular, set of pool of publishers for them to really make them understand about the business in a deeper way. Because they don't have that arsenal to understand your industry. They don't have that kind of energy to do that. And they work pretty much in an ecosystem where they are trying to see that all the kind of people they can attract, how can, with whatever they have, they can achieve the best. So in those scenarios, it becomes necessary to create certain powers inside the house, and also try to, educate your direct publisher and bring him along and hold his hand in a better way and do deep understanding with him. That will really help a lot. It will really help a lot over a long period of time. And also try to make sure that you are able to provide a very real-time feedback, a real-time update about the product, any change which is happening. You have to create a secondary set of employees which are not directly working for you, but is part of the company. And that is what you have to do.
Okay, got it. Great, thanks. Maybe what we'll try to do is like we'll quickly take a couple of questions which are left in the chat section. So it's Nikhil might be. So he's asking like what would be the best growth hacks for coding for kids, as it is very competitive space. So maybe you guys can quickly touch upon like what is your perspective on growth hack, and maybe you can share some insights for him, like what should be his strategy in his particular space. Pratik, maybe we can start with you, and let's try to keep the answer like 1 to 2 minutes so that we can cover like many of the other questions as well. Pratik.
I guess let's Sayantan and Anuj kind of answer this.
Okay, sure. Sure, Sayantan.
Yeah, as I said earlier, that there is nothing.
I will just.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe Sayantan, you can go first, and Anuj, maybe you can next.
Sure. As I said earlier, that there is nothing as such called growth hack. If you're looking for something that will work for you, you're just trying to be lucky, and you will not win at the end or probably longer term if you're just trying to focus to be lucky. It's all about like figuring out what are the possible opportunities we have right now for a particular goal, a particular problem statement, and how we can prioritize that on experimenting how those opportunities will behave for me. If I see any pattern, I'll go on scale. If I cannot see any pattern, I'll go to ground zero and try to figure out that what are the probably possible things I can do to probably reach there. That's it.
Okay, got it. Great. Anuj, what's your take?
See, I mean, parents are what you're selling to, and parents want, so parents have to save a lot of money to make sure that their students are able to go to some kind of a university. If the growth hack is simple, you get top 5 universities across the globe and say that there are 10 sponsorships, which you're going to offer, and let parents come and explore and say that if your kid passes this preliminary kind of a coding round, he's going to be eligible for a kind of a sponsorship. Now that's just like a growth hack that excites parents. The brand
Great.
Stanford, and like, I mean, they will bring some momentum.
Got it. Great. Thanks. Moving on to the next question. So Pooja is asking like, getting likes on your digital content is still manageable, but how to convert them into leads? And their platform is into SaaS and B2C for skill-based business. So maybe you can touch upon like how you guys are converting, that social engagement type of thing or traffic into actual lead for your business. Like, so Sayantan.
It's kind of easy for us because we are
Mhm.
again consumer internet focused company. What we show on marketing is exactly what we have in product. But for B2B SaaS, probably we have to move towards a value-based system that we whatever we are showing on marketing, uh, probably we need to focus on that how we can deliver the value so that they can or they have the reason to come back to your platform, either as a lead or probably on direct onboarding.
Got it. Anuj.
I think one of the experiments which Sayantan was speaking about, which worked on them for them on Facebook, is the exact answer where like is nothing but they are engaging with the content, but you want them to convert into a lead, which is maybe come on your app or a website and maybe engage with that. Now, what he said is about giving them a glimpse of skill based, so working
Hmm.
around that. What is it that they can do? Which the digital content needs to maybe tweak a little bit where they are getting interested, but then they are left, they're left, something is still remaining, and then they are like so much eager to come on the website and complete it. Maybe it's a puzzle, or I mean, if it's a skill based thing, we can figure out. But yeah, I mean, I think what Sanatan said makes a lot of sense.
Okay, got it. Pratik, would you like to pitch in? Like, you guys are more on partner focus, but what's your experience in this side?
We haven't done a lot of experiments on these kind of contents. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
can I can kind of just uh, I mean, I'm content with what Sayantan and Anuj said. I don't have any much more to add on.
Okay, cool, not an issue. So, we are right in the end of this whole section. We'll continue for like next 10 minutes or so. In the end, like we always have this segment where we know what panel is going to ask you a question or a moderator is going to ask or the audience is going to ask. But what we would like to know is like what you guys would like to ask each other. Maybe Pratik has already asked question to you guys. Maybe Sayantan, you have some specific question to Pratik or Anuj, and same goes for Anuj as well. Sayantan, like any specific question to any other?
I was going to ping actually Pratik and Anuj later. Okay, so I think for B2B platform, what Pratik mentioned that there are two things basically. One is to find the right, let's say, a potential customer, and then probably create success stories, and then kind of help them understand how this product will help them in terms of either in business, probably in other things, right? So Pratik, I got the second part very well. My question, the first part, how do you get the potential customer in a very easy way, or probably in a sustainable way that can happen towards, I mean, probably for the long-term scenario?
So from what I understand, your question is that how do you even reach the customer in the first place? I mean, everything else comes later, right?
Yes. You can reach and also build the funnel eventually in terms of process.
Okay. Reaching the customer, I would say, is probably a function of two things. One, uh, your grit and your ability to kind of stand outside the door of the guy that you want to meet. Second, if you have an existing relationship, you kind of leverage that. These are two ways to kind of make sure that you are able to reach the customers. I have been actually on the door of many such customers where we actually wanted to talk to them. That grit eventually gets converted into I guess in the digital world it's called cold email, right? You keep cold emailing the customer until the time they revert to you. For us, cold email was actually standing at the door and just waiting for them to give the chance to talk to them. Now, from here onwards, the way we would build the funnel is uh, we would try to find the decision maker in the scheme of all of these things. because typically the first person that we would engage with would not be the decision maker. They would be the person who, you could say, they would be the gatekeeper, who would lead us to the decision maker. So the process would follow with us kind of engaging with multiple stakeholders, showing the values and benefits to multiple stakeholders over the 6 to 9 months, and eventually getting all of them in agreement that the product actually has a meaningful value, to eventually inform the decision maker that our product can demonstrate some amount of value for their business in terms of generating revenue or reducing cost. Uh, but to kind of briefly answer your question, getting the entire stakeholder in agreement would be the primary process of getting a product sold, which would mean stakeholders uh, which would go from and in a typical lending business, right, which would go from the risk team, which is the underwriting team, which would be the sales team, which would be the business team, which would be the finance team, which would be the credit team. We would typically engage with around 6 to 8 different stakeholders, their own decision makers, and eventually the final decision maker. And that's why enterprise sales are, they have a slightly longer sales. I mean, I would not just slightly, but they have a really long sales funnel. I hope that answers your question, Sayantan.
I have a follow-up question on that. Okay, so my life is a bit easier on this in terms of experiment. Right? 24 hours is a good window to see if it's working or not, or sometimes 48 hours, right? When you're working on a very long-term funnel, when you know that these costs will take at least a couple of months or a couple of weeks, how are you probably looking at from our perspective that the strategy is working or not? Or how, if you see that, okay, if it's not working, how, if you want to tweak, what are the things you follow generally to tweak the strategy when you're already in a process and that is like kind of you're in the middle of it?
Oh, I'll give you an example out here. So this actually happened with us, wherein the product that we wanted to sell, we had a very different way of we had a very different way of how do you call it? The way we communicated the solution to our partners was very different to what eventually it turned out to be. So for almost 2 to 3 months, and the product is, it's an email solution. So the idea was that I would be able to confirm your employment by sending an email to you and then confirming that. We started off selling the solution as a fraud solution. Okay, so for the longest time, when we were doing that, we realized that, and we were trying to punch in two different problems. We were trying to take two different problem statements and put that into one single solution, saying that, hey, it's also fraud, it's also for employment verification as well. Eventually, what we realized when we were doing our sales, we realized that, hey, you know what, the fraud element does not work very well. And we shifted our communications to only a single solution. And we said that, hey, this product only does this, it solves only this. We tuned the product to also solve for that as well. So we removed some of the features that were no longer relevant. And we fine-tuned the product to only solve for one problem statement and not try to address multiple problem statements. But this happened over a couple of months once we went into meeting all of these different partners, and we realized as a feed that, hey, you know what, this cannot address two different things at the same time. It has to address just one.
Got it. Yeah.
Great, great. Thanks, Sayantan. Anuj, you have some specific question for any both of us?
Any specific question? I mean, I would just like to understand that business in which Saturn is pandemic had a very positive impact because a lot of people trying to engage more and they would have seen numbers going up. So what is the kind of forecasting from here? Do they see that when the markets open up and when people start going out, do they, I mean, like it's to both of, I mean, to Pratik also, that will the entire acceleration and growth which happened in couple of digital verticals or business verticals, sorry, which accelerated them almost 3-4 years ahead because of the pandemic, will there be a dip after the market opens up?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'll answer this. So technically, the impact is not too big, or probably not a very high impact on the numbers at least. So if you were thinking to grow at a fairly good pace, probably think about plus minus 10% is the growth we got because of pandemic. And when the pandemic went away, when the business opened up, we haven't actually seen a huge dip in the business also because we were growing at a fairly good space. So probably to answer your question, the pandemic of course had a positive impact on digital businesses like us, but it's not like the 3 months we got huge benefit and then when it went away, we were back into the loss. But it
Great.
helped
Okay.
us to reach multiple people because there were also multiple things at that point of time, and kind of reach out to them and show our product. And some of them also liked our product and they came back and they stick to our platform for a long time.
Okay. Pratik, your take?
Anuj, we are in the same business, so I guess both of our answers will remain the same. But I would say I don't think so. The good thing that has happened for I think the lending business is that the payment business kicked in. So we are seeing a lot of customers kind of being more inclined towards using digital methods of making payments, which strongly aligns with lending as well now. I think customers have started getting comfortable utilizing these digital platforms to not only make payments but also avail loans as well, right? So I strongly believe that as more and more customers now keep coming onto the platform to make payments, I think payments is going to be the first way to really utilize your money, or payments is going to be the first way to actually introduce yourself to a transaction methodology, right? Eventually, the reverse transaction would be kind of borrowing money from the market. I think since customers are going to get used to making payments, eventually, and the borrowing is also going to become digital. So we would see some sort of explosion kind of happening out there over a period of time, or you could say the growth is going to be pretty good from here onwards. I'm fairly confident about that, especially the BNPL is kind of accelerating that as well. The buy now pay later product, which has been adopted largely by the Amazon Pay Laters of the world, and even EarlySalary has their own BNPL. Is kind of changing the way how people now purchase products or borrow money from the market. So Anuj, my answer would probably be as same as yours.
Got it.
Great. So we are right at the end of the webinar kind of thing. Like before coming to my final question, just a quick thing, like at ECHI we do such kind of webinars. Like this is one pertaining to like growth marketing and all, but we do variety of different webinars on different domains as well. So you guys can check our website on echi.network. And now, as everything is rightly mentioned, like focus much more on digital. So we try to do this webinar stuff, but we also do some physical meetups as well. So eventually in coming week also, like last week we did our physical meetup in Estonia as well. And coming week also we are doing the same at that place also. So things are quite moving on the physical space as well. So let's see how we can like meet in person maybe in coming soon. So this is what we do. And also quick shout out to our event partners, like the Fry and One Startup. You guys can check their details on our website as well. So my final question is like, where do you guys want to see yourself in like next 3 to 5 years, and also your respective startup? So Pratik, we'll go with you. Like, where do you want to see yourself in growth or product role, and also CreditVidya? Like, कहाँ पे देखना चाहते हो? Like so and so figures or maybe anything. Like up to you. Like Pratik.
It's a tough question. I've been with this company.
Let's try to keep it. Let's try to keep it quick. We only have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, to make it quick, I would want to see the company kind of having, let's say, a portfolio of 3,000 to 4,000 crores in the next 2 years, at least from the lending business, and for a B2B business, global expansion.
And you, where do you want to see yourself in this domain?
Myself, I haven't thought of that yet. I mean, I'm happy in the place that I am today. I think as the company grows, the role would also grow. I would probably see myself growing as well.
Great, awesome. Sayantan, like, what's your answer?
Okay. So Pratilipi was literature product earlier. Now we're in multiple. Probably the next 5 years, Pratilipi will be a platform for anyone in India who wants to access stories in any medium, in any format possible. That's what we're looking at. To create our portfolio, that's what we're looking at, to create products, that's what we're looking at, to bring the people on board to help us to get
Mhm. Great, awesome. Now moving on to final to Anuj, like any of you guys who have like question, you can reach us out to any one of you. Social media links or their profiles are mentioned on our website as well, and you can keep us with the following content also on our YouTube channel or also our website as well. So Anuj, like this is a final answer, and I'll close the webinar.
See, I want to see that if you can.
Maybe Anuj, you can read your. Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, now loud.
Yeah. So simple है. IPO आ जाए और मैं अपने ESOP से कुछ पैसे कमा तो अच्छा रहेगा. So that is
great. I think Great. I think that dream is like really now great. I think seeing the Zomato IPO. So I think we are on a good track as an Indian startup ecosystem overall. Great, awesome. So this whole webinar is not possible because of the wonderful, panels. So thank you so much, guys, for coming and sharing your insights. And also, Pratik, thank you so much, for hosting with me.
It's
And
fun.
to all our lovely audience who is watching us, might be on Zoom or on all the social media channels. So great to see you, and let's hope we can maybe catch up soon also. So thank you so much, guys. Bye. Take care
Thank you.
and best
Bye.
wishes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.